How's everybody doing? It's Cevan, aka the Monkas. Join with me today is Reed and Tyler, and today we have a very special guest, Cam Thorn. Say what's up, Cam.
What's up, guys?
This is episode 12 of Likely to Dispute.
Yep, got a fun episode today. Per usual, another team breakdown here of Mr. Cam Thorn, one of the two most recent members of the league. Camden number one, some might say. Some might say Camden number two. Unsure on that one, but
I
we're gonna
think
start
we'd
with,
say number one for sure.
well, I think the how you finish the year this year will determine who's Cam number one and Cam number two.
Fair. I
So,
like that. I like
so we're
that.
gonna start with the question of the day and then jump right into Cam's team. So, Savan, give us the question of the day.
Perfect. Well, starting off with the question of the day. I thought this was a fun one. The question is, what is the maximum amount of money that you would want a buy-in of a fantasy league to be? I can start with this one off because I have an answer. I would say the maximum amount that I'd be comfortable gambling in a fantasy league would be probably $500,000.
Holy shit.
Hmm.
Probably, I think I would be in a $500 buy-in league. That would be super fun and super stressful at the same time, but I think that would just be like maximum investment league. So it would get it would really be able to like see where I'm at stacked against 11 other sickos.
Is
I
this
don't know if I've ever heard the term $500,000 used before.
is this taking into account like ideal league settings that you prefer and
Yeah, I mean just
active league
yeah.
mates?
Yep.
Yeah. I think I'd toss 100 bones at a league and call that
Okay.
good. So double what our buy-in is.
Are we talking dynasty leagues or
Any fantasy league that you want it to be. Just the
I
maximum amount for a buy-in.
see, I was thinking 500, but I think 250 would be um my range. I think I could get up to 250 and lose a league and be okay with it. But if I lost $500 every single year, I would not be happy. So
Some would
250.
say, yep, some would say after 2 years you'd be down $1,000.
That's
My work league is 125, and that's honestly more than I already want to spend. So I'd say 125 is my maximum. I don't do sports gambling. I do it for fun. Fantasy is the closest I get to sports gambling, and I really don't like having that much money on the line. So I'd say I'm probably right a lot closer to Tyler at 100.
But
I haven't
Savon,
Yeah.
you win the league every single year. So why would you say 500 is your max? I feel like you would, say any amount of number or any amount of money.
Well, 500 is a lot. And the my most I the league I'm in now that is the most is 100. And so um I don't know. I just think 500, what's that times 12? Let me guess, $6,000.
yeah.
Bang,
I mean,
bang.
if you're doing a 4,000, 2,000 split winner, runner up, I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But
Someone's start
yeah,
taxing that.
no taxes. All right, well, let's get into the episode. So here we have our power rankings tier. Looks like I am by myself in this one. I've got Camden as a contender, while Reed, Tyler, and Camden himself has himself as playoff aspirations. A quick overview on Keep Trade Cut. They've got him ranked dead last in the quarterback market, bottom third in running backs, top half in receivers. He's up there second in tight ends, picks in the bottom half, and right in the middle of the pack of age, and then has no 2024. Nothing in 2024 because he was from the reclamation draft when we infamously lost James and Shams. Rest in peace. But Reed, Tyler, Camden, I'll save myself last for this. Camden, let's start with you. Why are you just shooting for the playoffs?
Well,
I
I
think
think
that
that, first year being in the league, I think it'd be a good start for me to, be in the playoffs. I kind of screwed up my draft, my two-team draft, whatever you want to call it. Um, didn't pick a quarterback right off the bat, and it kind of shows with my rankings. I kind of don't agree with the wide receiver ranking though. Everything else kind of makes sense to me. Fifth in age, I almost think I'm, lower than that, but yeah, I'd just be happy to make the playoffs this year for sure.
Very fair. Being on the playoff bubble isn't the worst place to be. Tyler, why do you think Camden's just shooting for the playoffs?
I think it's well, I don't that's I have an issue with the way you're wording that. He's
I had
obviously
the same
not
comment.
not just shooting for the playoffs. It's that there's a lot of teams within this range that you could see it going, any of these teams' ways and who makes the playoffs. We saw last year there's like three or four teams vying for those last playoff spot there. So I think that's kind of where Cam's team lines up this year, and I think there's some really good strengths here, and obviously there's some weaknesses too, but not one of the worst teams or anything in my mind. Just kind of right around the middle of the pack.
Yeah,
Very fair. Yeah, well, yeah, agreed. Why do you think Camden's mid?
I thought there was two good points made up here. The fact that Camden is in this tier after how poorly his initial reclamation draft went, frankly, is a credit to him because he definitely did not do very well in that draft. So for him to be in this tier, I think is very good. And I actually have him towards the top of this tier as well. Um, I don't see him as a true contender, but at the same time, like I said, making the playoffs is important, and it's the only thing that every fantasy football champion ever has in common is they all made the playoffs first. So this is not a bad spot to be in, especially given, sorry, the fact this is his first year, bounce back. I think it's a good spot for him to be in.
Yeah, well said, well said. And for me, I'll kind of get into why I think he's a contender throughout the episode, but briefly, I know I am the high man on his team. I had him as high as fourth in power rankings.
Some might call you Mr. Slurp.
Yeah, no, I
No,
didn't have
Tyler,
him.
you got that. You got that
Yeah,
title from last episode. Don't worry about that.
but my goal for this episode is to get either Reed, Tyler, or both to move Camden up in their power rankings by all these great points that I will make throughout the episode. So let's go on and get into the MVP. Camden has Puka Nacua as his MVP. Camden, why don't you tell us a little bit about Mr. Puka?
Yeah, I just think, if he stays healthy, last year he was hurt for 6 games, and I think he was just shy of 1,000 yards. I understand you guys don't like, bringing up if he stays healthy or he might get hurt, but he's still got a sure QB in Stafford for at least another year. Um, and I really think that he could easily be top five wide receiver and could honestly make a run for wide receiver one this year. That might be a hot take, but I also think adding Devontae Adams didn't hurt Puka at all. I think it honestly helps him. He had Cup the last couple of years, even though Cup kind of sucked, but um, it helped Puka more. He sits around, 10 targets a game. He will get the ball. I think for sure he's going to be my MVP if everything goes right.
Yeah, Puka's a great pick for MVP. It looks like Reed agreed with you. Reed, uh, anything else about Puka?
I just echo a lot of the stuff that Cam said. I think, especially for this year in particular, like you don't really know how much longer Stafford has, who, one of the most fantasy friendly quarterbacks of all time as far as how he's able to feed his weapons, not just his weapons, but his top weapons, the way they are able to funnel touches to his best guys. And as long as he stays healthy, I feel very comfortable saying he'll be his MVP as well. I can't wait to see what he does this year. He's definitely a player that I'm excited to see what he does in year three.
Yeah, Puka's a great wide receiver, and it looks like Tyler and I have another great wide receiver. Tyler, why Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I think for me, Amon Ra is a little bit more clearly that alpha in the offense in terms of who's going to lead the team in targets. I I don't think Devontae is terrible per Puka, but I'm a little bit more skeptical on how that target distribution works out also with the Rams bringing in Terrence Ferguson, fresh new young face there. I'm just I think Devontae Adams is a higher quality receiver than Cooper Kupp was last year. And so I don't think it's apples to apples to say Puka was a beast last year, even with Kupp there. I think Devontae is a little bit um, at this point a better receiver than Kupp was last year, and so I could see some of those targets falling off just a bit for Puka. And not that that hurts him or anything. It just I don't think there's a similar situation with Amon Ra. I think Amon Ra continues to be that face in the offense and is attached to one of the most reliable quarterbacks in Jared Goff. So I think Amon Ra will just, consistently be a target hog for the Lions, and he will be what he has been, which is, you know, wide receiver in the 4 to 8 range, somewhere in there. So
I find you talking down on Cooper Kupp quite interesting, given the slurping that happened on him from you last
Yeah,
year.
wait,
okay,
I thought he was a great guy to
he's
have on the team.
we okay. There's a difference in talking about Cooper Kupp compared to Devontae Adams versus Cooper Kupp and just talking about where he is now.
Okay. I just thought it was important that you used to talk down on him to make your point here. That's all.
Fair enough.
Very interesting, Ian. I hope you caught that. Um, Anyways, yeah, for me, the only difference between Puka and Amon-Ra is Amon-Ra is guaranteed to be the target leader for the Lions and Jared Goff. I know they lost their offensive coordinator, but he's still been putting up over 4,000 yards every year, and Amon-Ra is the focal point of the passing attack on the offense. And there is a world where Devontae Adams is getting as many or more targets than Puka. Both great players. Um, but yeah, that's just why I had Amon Ra. Getting into most improved, Camden's got third year quarterback Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers. Why is he going to be most improved?
Yeah, and I was close to putting him as the MVP, but I think a couple of you guys would really kill me for putting him there. Drafting Ted McMillan, eighth overall, and still having, the GOAT and Xavier Legette. I really think Legette didn't get the best opportunity last year, and I'm still a fan of him. I was actually going to ask about Xavier Legette. Has anybody watched the music video that he was in recently?
Yes.
Okay. Tyler?
I have not.
I don't think it's your taste in music, Tyler, so that makes a little bit
Okay.
of sense to me. But yeah, just that music video alone shows me that, Legette is 1,000 yard receiver this year. So,
A music video shows nothing, by the way, but
well, it shows some abs and some muscles for sure. So, um, but also, him getting benched for Andy Dalton halfway through the year, and then turning it around to finish, I think, QB8 week 13, QB2 week 15, and QB1 week 17 kind of just shows me that he's got it in him. Um, I guess we'll see. I'm still a pretty big fan of Dave Canales. He kind of started the resurrection of Baker's career, I think. Maybe you guys don't think that way, but I think he can kind of do the same with Bryce. And if he can't this year, then he's gone, and Bryce will get somebody who can come in there and actually, coach him. So, uh, Bryce Young, most improved for sure.
yeah, I think Bryce Young definitely has a case to be most improved. He did show some major improvements over the second half of last season. Let's see if anybody agrees with you. Nope. Anyways, uh,
Hmm.
I've got Puka here. Looking back on it, probably shouldn't. Um, I kind of just looked at him missing so much time last year. He was still a top five wide receiver in points per game for the 11 games he did play. Um, so as far as most improved, I think there's not much room for improvement on in terms of points per game, but I mean he could be the wide receiver one, and so maybe he mostly improves from I think number three to number one. Brenton Strange. I'm not in agreement on Brenton Strange. I'm sure we'll get into to some good discourse on him eventually. But Reed, why don't you lead us off with Brenton Strange?
I know you're the president of the hate club of Brenton Strange, and while I'm not necessarily the president of his fan club, I think there's a real opportunity there. K. Dotton was a beast last year in Liam Cohen's offense, especially when the targets went down, with Godwin and Evans down for a while last year. Um, High draft capital for him, freak athlete. Expecting, I know you're also not the president of the Trevor Lawrence fan club either, so I think it's just a difference in opinion here on the Jaguars offense, and I definitely see a world where he's able to soak up a lot of targets. We assume Travis Hunter is going to play a lot of offense, but in the event that he's playing less than a full-time role, that leaves even more targets up for grabs. Unfortunately, Gabe Davis is no longer there, so there's like 15 targets available up for Brenton Strange. So I'm a fan of the role that he could have this year, and as a tight end, was a great athlete with great draft capital. I think he has a chance to be most improved, and my second would have been Bryce Young. I know Cam is the president of the Bryce Young Slurp Club, so I didn't want to
And
step on
I have
his
Bryce Young
toes
and
there.
AR and
Yeah.
AR. So
So, but
that's
yeah, I'm a Brenton Strange fan.
Very fair points from you, Reed. Tyler, anything to echo there?
In 2022, Evan Engram finished fifth at the tight end position in PPR leagues. In 2023, he finished second. So we've seen that Trevor Lawrence does really like to target that tight end, and I think this is a natural stepping stone. There's a reason that Strange is a popular breakout pick amongst people on the internet. So I I do like Strange. Reed mentioned the high draft capital. This third year tight ends here um, should be in a good spot to establish himself as maybe one of the better tight ends in the league, hopefully. So I'm all in on Strange as well.
And not to mention, the Jaguars cut Evan Ingram and did not bring
Yes.
in a suitable replacement. So it's not like they just kind of struck out. They cut their existing productive tight end to leave an opening here. So at the very least, you'd think the Jaguars believe in him at least to some extent, or at least the room they have, and he's definitely the most likely to come out of that room on top with when it comes to production.
That's very fair. And this is without doing any research, just responding to you, Tyler. In 2022, if I'm not mistaken, was the only competent wide receiver there Christian Kirk, or am I forgetting about somebody?
Um, that sounds right.
I think Alan Hearns was still there.
Okay, so no. And then tw 2023, it was Calvin.
Calvin Johnson.
Not Ridley.
Oh,
I mean, that's just insane from you. But yeah, so I mean, a difference in talent. You're talking about Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter versus Christian Kirk and
now
old Calvin
do
Ridley.
not get Tyler started on Brian Thomas Jr., man. Let me tell you, this guy.
That's just my point. There was sorry, who would you rather throw to? Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter or Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley?
Cevan, correct me if I'm wrong, but like 3 episodes ago, didn't you say Jake Ferguson was going to be a top three tight end as the third option in the Cowboys offense?
And where does this come in to
You're
my
saying that Brenton
question?
Strange can't be improved because Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. are ahead of him
When did I say that?
just now, literally just now.
No. I asked who you'd rather throw to.
Okay, but you're making that as a negative argument against him when you were all over for 3 episodes ago.
You're assuming at this point. Anyways,
a
let's
good
get on.
assumption, though. It is a pretty decent assumption.
Let's get on to the sleeper. Camden has Braylon Allen, Jets' second year running back, who I heard was super slow.
Yes.
It's okay.
He's not slow, but again, who is David Montgomery slow? The
Okay,
answer is no. Okay. Anyways, Braylon Allen, Jets running back. Why is he a sleeper this year, Camden?
Yeah, I just think when he got his time last year, I kind of thought he looked a hell of a lot better than Brees. I know, they're bringing in a new regime in New York. I really could see Braylon carving out a bigger role this year. I did see an article that said that they're going to try to use all three running backs this year. I don't really believe it. Aaron Glenn came from the Lions. They're known for having two solid running backs, two running backs that are, top 15 running backs, fantasy wise. And I could kind of see him having that David Montgomery role this year. Um, yeah, I'm pretty high on Braylon Allen for sure.
I'm in agreement with you there. Brandon Allen's set up to be at worst a solid handcuff this year, way more likely to be than Isaiah Davis. Um, Me and Reed both have Kendre Miller here, and Tyler has Xavier Legette. Reed, we're going to start with you here on Kendre Miller. We'll save Mr. Legette for last.
I think this is a hard accolade here for his team. I don't think he really has anybody that I think is flying under the radar. I think Kendrick Miller has the best chance of being that. The new regime is so important. Obviously, there's the running joke that the old regime just hated him. So between that and his injuries, he just never really saw the field. So I'm not going to say Alvin Kamara is going to fall off because he's probably not going to. But at the same time, there could be a chance to integrate him more into the offense, potentially with a better offense, with a new quarterback, with a new regime, new head coach, all that stuff. So he's a pretty valuable. I think at this point his value still stands as just a handcuff. Like I don't see any real world where he has enough work on his own sharing the backfield with Kamara to be viable. But if he does go out, I'd like to see what he could do in a full-time role because the couple of games that he has had the chance to do that for various reasons, he has looked good. So sleeper for me, not necessarily someone I think will have standalone value, but could be a big year as he's still, I believe he's 23 still. Well, he's on the younger side still. So he's my sleeper.
Yeah, Kendre Miller, he was someone who was super hyped going into his rookie year 2 seasons ago because everybody thought Kamara was on the downfall, which he hasn't been. But yeah, they really need a second running back just to spell Kamara because he can't. I mean, he's been getting all the volume, but he's gonna be 30 or is 30 this year. So between him and not Taj Brooks. Who'd they draft? Somebody tell me.
Taj Gibson.
No.
Devin
Uh,
Neal.
Taj Mahal.
Devin Neal, yeah. Between him and Devin Neal, someone's got to be the RB2 to spell him, and this is kind of just like a post-hype sleeper. See if the new regime can get anything out of him. Yeah. So Tyler, why is Xavier Legette a sleeper?
Okay. I know you are a Leggett hater, and I think a lot of people really don't care for Leggett, but I think he's a sleeper. Let's bring up the obvious point here. Tedderell McMillan is now in the Panthers. He should be the number one wide receiver there. Sure, that's great. But there's still targets to be had here in this Panthers offense. I know Jalen Coker is kind of a fun story. Great, great little bench piece you have there, Deshaun. No problems with it. But Leggett did out target Coker. Leggett also out targeted Adam Thielen last year. And I think he will be perfectly fine as a number two option in this Panthers offense with hopefully Bryce Young continuing to build on a strong second half last year. Leggett last year among the rookie wide receivers ranked top 10 in receptions, targets, and yards. So he's ahead of the like he's ahead of the likes of Jalen McMillan, Keon Coleman, in some of those categories, AD Mitchell, if you will, as well. So I don't get why people are writing off a first round wide receiver. I'm sorry, was he first or second round? I can't remember.
First.
Last
Okay,
year he finished
First.
first, I believe.
that's what I thought. I don't get why people are writing him off so quickly with that high draft capital. And Reed, I know you want to say something about AD Mitchell right now, but it's not the same. I think Leggett, he had a perfectly fine rookie season, almost 500 yards last year, and I think he'll be just fine. He tested great at that combine, and I think he will slot in nicely as a number two for Bryce
I
Young.
I want to point out a couple of things here. First off, the two players you mentioned that he out-targeted were an undrafted free agent and a 33-year-old Adam Thielen. Neither of those are necessarily an impressive feat.
Yeah,
And
but
second off, he's different than AD Mitchell because he's 3 years older than AD Mitchell. He's a 23-year-old rookie. He's 24 now going into his second year. So there's a lot more path to developing somebody who's 3 years younger than somebody who potentially is already at their athletic peak at this moment, was my AD Mitchell argument.
And we can have that argument another time, but I guess I brought up Thielen and Coker because I feel like I've heard discourse about how Thielen and Coker were still relevant last year, even with Leggett around, but Leggett was better. And so I'm just saying, like, those receivers are fine as is, but Leggett, I still think is the clear better piece than those two.
Yeah, my thing on the get is I think at the end of the day, he's just going to end up being a better NFL receiver uh, than a fantasy receiver. So, um, yeah, that's all I got. I don't want to talk about him. He's not good. He's not
I
going to be
mean,
good.
last thing I'll say in the last 5 games he played in, 3 of the 5 he had 8 or more targets, 8, 8, and 9. So I know those didn't necessarily all translate to receptions, but at least targets are somewhat sticky.
That's fair, but then they brought in Hunter Renfrow and Jimmy Horn Jr. and Tetaroa. So,
Jimmy Horn getting brought up. Man.
yeah, I mean, I probably would take Jimmy Horn. But yeah, let's move on to best value. Cam says Tyler Warren, who he selected at the 111 in the rookie draft, is the best value. Cam, why is taking Tyler Warren where he was supposed to go the best value?
Yeah, I think Warren was supposed to get picked around, pick 8 or pick 9. So picking him 11 wasn't crazy. I think he is probably my best value. Being new to the league, there's not a whole lot of players I can choose from. I made, a trade or two, so I could probably say the Amon-Ra fleecing job I did on Reed. I think what was it, probably a month ago now. I mean, just absolutely fleecing Reed, and it just felt so good to me. Could have probably been another best value, but I really still believe fully in AR, as Reed also does. So I think, the targets are going to be there. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Brock Bowers, but I can totally see him finishing tight end 12 or better this year easily.
It's a good take on the
I
best about you. Yeah, Reed,
no,
you got something to say?
I was just gonna say I don't have Tyler Warren in any of my spots, so I think it's a good time for me to give my thoughts. Sorry about that. Me to give my thoughts on Tyler Warren here. While I am still 100% in on Anthony Richardson, I'm starting to feel that the Colts are not. So I believe Tyler Warren's stock probably goes up if Daniel Jones starts at quarterback, just given the fact that he really dominates the short part of the field, the run after catch, especially over the middle, and that's what they're going to try to have Daniel Jones do. So I could see his volume going up significantly. And even if they wanted to, his ability to get into the red zone or into a wildcat package in the red zone and try to get him some carries that theoretically would have gone to Richardson. So I do like Tyler Warren, and I think as much as I like Anthony Richardson, his value goes up at least in 2025 with Daniel Jones, and um, you can never have too much depth in a tight end premium league. So I am a fan. I wouldn't necessarily say he's your best value because, you know, at best you got him 1 or 2 picks after ADP, but with your team being weird given the reclamation draft, I think it's a perfectly fine pick for me.
And I will
Points on.
I will like to add real quick that I mean when you're taking a tight end 14th overall, you're gonna feed him. It doesn't matter what team he plays for, what quarterback's there, he's gonna get fed. So I think I agree with you. Daniel Jones would probably be a better um, fit with Tyler Warren this year, but I also think AR does a decent job of spreading the ball out, and he can't really throw over 20 yards. So I think Tyler Warren's going to be his guy this year.
I think it's just the quality of feeding that's being done that's holding up the whole thing. So let's get on to me, Reed, and Tyler. We got I picked Bryce Young, Reed picked Sam Darnold, Tyler picked Javonte Williams. That's an interesting one. Maybe spicy. So let's start with you, Tyler. Why is your spicy take Javonte?
I think Javante's stock was lowest kind of when Camden took him in the reclamation draft. He's fresh off a rough year with Denver. And there's definitely cause for concern there. But Javonte Williams now, post Cowboys draft, post some of these dangling running backs signing now and Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbinson, the Cowboys have seemed really committed to the running back room they've put together, which includes Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, draft edition Jadon Blue, and Deuce Vaughn is still there. So Javonte Williams is probably the most established. You could argue Miles Sanders, but Miles Sanders is just fell off a cliff, obviously. So Javonte Williams seems to be the vet that has had the most success in recent years. And so the fact that they haven't really, there's definitely competition there, but I don't see, who's the clear threat here to Javonte. It could be Sanders, could be Blue. But I think right now it is Javonte Williams' backfield. We've seen, um, a few more than a few years back, Ezekiel Elliott be the bell cow there. Last year, Rico Dowdle was really successful with the Cowboys, and so I think this is a pretty high reward, low risk pick for Camden in the reclamation draft. And so even if it's, Javonte Williams is a bust this year and he's kind of nothing for the rest of his career, so be it. But if Javonte even has a great first half of the season, that's a possible trade chip for Camden. Or, maybe he definitely has an RB2 season within his range of outcomes, my opinion. He's always been kind of a high yards per carry guy with limited touches. So with arguably the least amount of competition in our backfield he's been part of yet, I'm excited to see if maybe Javonte still has something in him that got fantasy managers so excited a few years ago.
Yeah, Tyler, I got a question, a follow-up on that.
Hmm.
Do you think that the Cowboys will be that kind of bell cow, one running back type of team this year? I know that, I mean, in years prior, I mean, every single year there's always one running back that's just getting fed and fed and fed. Do you think there's an
Uh,
ability for Javante to be
I
that bell
still,
cow, or do you
I
think they'll
still,
kind of
I
go
still
ahead?
think they're pretty pass heavy, but that's a good point too because Williams has been a pass catching back as well. So he does have that skill set, even if maybe Jaden Blue siphoned some of those running back targets or whoever. But I mean, the Cowboys will still, you know, they're still running plays involved, and I like Williams to get a bulk of those. And down by the goal line, I think he will be getting some valuable touches. So maybe it's a season where he gets, a few more touchdowns than he has in years past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
that makes
say I'll say touching on Javante real quick. Looking from a redraft perspective, he's got a lower ADP than Jaden Blue, and with how open the backfield is and the opportunity, just with him being the vet, he's probably the bet I would make, uh, just from a value perspective, from uh, like the lens of redraft ADP. So I'm in agreement there that he could be a value this year. Reed, Sam Darnold, uh, newly acquired by the Seattle Seahawks. Why is he a value?
I just had one quick point on Javante. If I remember correctly, he's the latest NFL starting running back to go in redraft right now. The latest in a team's RB1 goes. And again, for an offense that's supposed to be at least solid this year, I think he's a good bet. Even if he is potentially touchdown dependent, I think it's a good bet. So I agree with the best value pick here. I chose Darnold here. Uh, Again, as someone who negotiated with Cam quite a lot on the deal we had, he was not a fan of Darnold and did not, before he had signed, did not know if he was even going to sign to be a starter somewhere. And I think the fact that not only now does he still have Darnold, but now has three quarterbacks where, none of them are elite established quarterbacks, but you could pretty easily see a QB1 season from any of the three of Darnold, Bryce Young, or his third one, Tua, who has not been mentioned yet. So, again, a reclamation draft pick where he decided not to pick a quarterback with one of his first two picks. I I can't say I'm a huge Sam Darnold fan overall, but I'm a fan of the value of where he got him in that draft and what he could provide here in his three quarterback setup that he has in place.
Anything from you on Sam Darnold, Camden?
I'm a Vikings fan. I think everybody here knows it. But that also means, I mean, for me, I'm the biggest Vikings quarterback hater known to man. I mean, I'm not a JJ fan. I wanted Jaden Daniels. I want us to trade up for Jaden Daniels. I mean that. Sam Darnold, he had a great season last year. I just, I'm not a huge fan of Darnold. I know now he's going from Justin Jefferson to Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is also a very good option for him. But I just don't really see the amount of offensive power with the Seahawks as opposed to the Vikings. So that's just not a huge Darnold fan. He probably isn't going to start week one, but I do have a quarterback that's one hit away from eating out of a feeding tube for the rest of his life. So he could, carve a role in my team for sure.
All valid points there. I will say I am in on JJ McCarthy. But that's
Interesting from a
conversation
Bears
for a minute.
fan. That's interesting.
I'm unbiased, as we all know.
Okay. I'm a hater.
Yeah. For myself, Bryce Young. I just think the way you acquired Bryce Young, you traded DK Metcalf, sorry, you traded Nico Collins, Rashad White. You had a first round pick swap where you traded back from the 105 to the 111. Then you sent a fourth. And your return, DK Metcalf, James Cook, Bryce Young, and that late first. I just think the way you acquired Bryce Young after showing some promise, quarterbacks, usually you think you need to get him for a little bit of a premium. It didn't feel like a throw in, but to me, it seems like maybe you should have had to give up a little more. I know you gave up Nico, but he was the only elite asset that you gave up. I guess you gave up Tedder. No, you gave up Travion too, but besides the point. I like the way you acquired. Like you said, it's kind of hard doing with the reclamation draft because it's just post um post 2024 season. But yeah. Anything on Bryce Young, anybody?
No, like it.
All
I've said
right.
enough about him.
I am a
Yep.
fan.
I'm a fan.
All right, let's get into the overrated. Camden has the Lions, so I'm assuming that means Amon-Ra and Laporta. Oh, how are the Lions overrated?
Yeah, this isn't really too big of a dig on Laporta and Amon-Ra as players. I just think that the Lions have been so good for a couple of years now. One of the best offenses in the NFL. Um, and Ben Johnson this, Ben Johnson that, but he was a big part of the team. I just can't see the same output of one of these two. I think Reed touched on it or Tyler touched on it. Amon-Ra is for sure the target getter. He's the number one target guy on the team. Never really been a big Laporta fan. I know a couple of you guys watching probably have uh without knowing me, probably hate me from the amount of times I've tried to trade away Laporta to you guys. So I apologize for that. But with that being said, if you want Laporta, send me something because he's on the block for sure.
That is good. So you heard it here first. Cam Thorn is open and willing to move Sam Laporta. All you tight end needy teams, hit him up, get him for the cheap.
By the way, I'm a trade type of guy. So any trade you send me, I know you guys know I'm pretty active on trading anybody and everybody. So nobody's ever safe on my team. I think maybe if I had, Josh Allen, I probably would keep him around, but Tyler would probably say something about that because he's on Ian's team. But anybody on my teams, I'm willing to trade. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, with Camden saying that, I think it's safe to say he will probably make two or three spite trades within the first month of the season, just because things aren't going well. But
I
let's get
think when
into
I
the
beat you, it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Buster. All right, let's get into the next few overrated players. We also have Tyler agreeing with Sam Laporta, Reed, after sh famously shipping away James Cook this offseason. Actually, I don't know if that's true.
I
Reed, didn't you
did,
have
but
James Cook?
yeah,
Okay,
I
yeah.
did. But what's famous about that?
I was just talking.
Oh,
And
Reed,
then
stop sending me trades mid pod, buddy. I don't want
you
I
just
don't
said he
want
was
Johnu.
available.
I don't want Johnu. Stop sending me
hey,
Johnu trade
we could
offers.
let's get through these real quick and then let's bang out a Reed and Camden trade.
Yeah, I like that. I like
That
that.
would be good for the pod.
Cam's not
Reed?
easy to work with. I've already dealt with him once this offseason.
Reed,
It's
when
true.
I would say I'm okay to deal with if you're easy to deal with too. So
That's fair. What's frustrating doesn't come with the good, rather it comes with the negative. All right.
What?
Xavier
What?
Leggett from me as well. Tyler, any follow-up points on Sam Laporta on how he's overrated?
Yeah, I struggle with some of these tight ends that are a little bit more touchdown dependent, kind of that Mark Andrews vein, or Mark Andrews of last year, I guess. Uh, Laporta 10 receiving touchdowns his rookie year, 7 touchdowns last year, and I still think he is a good candidate for sitting up there in those touchdown totals. I had Laporta for a brief period last year. In the first half of the season, the first 9 games he played, 7 of those 9, he had 5 or less targets, and that was rough. He was still catching touchdowns in that span, but it made it a bit scary to just rely on those touchdowns. And given his age and how productive he has been in these first 2 years, he's valued pretty highly. Probably, I don't know off the top of my head. Probably in that 3 to 5 range on keep trade cut for tight ends. But and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be there. It's just his is so touchdown dependent that it's a bit scary for me. And like I said, that first half of the season, the targets weren't there, and then they exploded the second half of the season. So I'm not quite sure what all to make of Laporta, especially with, a new offensive coordinator in place there. So curious to see what he does this year, but I think I'm the low man on Laporta with Cam.
I I have very similar feelings. I feel like everybody kind of overreacted to his rookie year, where we kind of seen the same thing this year with Brock Bowers. But I think it's a lot different in terms of A, not just the draft capital, but B, his spot in the pecking order. Like you think about Laporte, as we've already talked about, Amon-Ra is getting his targets. He just is. Jameson Williams came on last year, which is really the biggest dagger in Laporta's because he converted those long touchdowns. He did not really command targets prior to last year. And then all of those targets, not all those targets, a chunk of the targets that Laporta was getting then went to Jameson Williams. So I think Laporta is a perfectly fine, like mid tight end one, maybe even to back end tight end one, but I think he's still valued too high for what I would feel like his value actually is. And it sounds like at least 3 of the 4 of us agree. I don't know if Cevan feels the same, but yeah, I have similar thoughts on Laporta. I just wanted to talk about someone else.
Yeah, my thoughts differ a little bit. Um, the way I see it, I think he'll finish somewhere between his rookie year and last year, mostly because they're going to have to change the offense a little bit. I think they're going to, I don't know off the top of my head what their run pass splits were, but I think it's going to trend in the passing direction because of how shaken up this offensive line is going to be. They still have their 2 tackles, but they're going to have 3 new interior starters, and then mixed with a new offensive coordinator. I think I just think they're going to run less and throw more. They're still going to run the ball a lot, but I don't know. I could see an uptick in targets, which ultimately leads to more fantasy points. So
It sounds
I
like
think he's
Jahmyr Gibbs is on the block if they're going to run the ball less, right?
okay.
well, he's averaging like what 5.6 yards per carry, so I think he's probably fine to carve
Them
out a
also them running less. I think this is the year that um, Gibbs like fully takes over the split because it's been when they play, it's pretty 50-50. I think it'll be more like
Do we have to
65,
talk about
35.
Jahmyr Gibbs right now?
Talk
You can
about
blame
self-glaze.
you
And I
can
mean,
blame me.
Montgomery did tear his ACL, so I
Okay.
I do kind of like
No, we
that.
didn't. No, we didn't.
He did not.
Right? Didn't he tear his ACL? What did
He
he
No.
do?
played in the playoffs.
What he
And they
didn't
signed him
he?
to do an extension
He's
during the year as
yeah,
well.
he sprained his MCL and missed the last month.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I kind of
Also,
remember.
Tyler said self-glaze when Reed brought up Gibbs and I mentioned nothing about him.
I did not say
I
self-glaze.
said self-glaze.
Okay.
Damn
Anyways,
it.
let's get let's get on to James Cook.
Was that my
Torn
cue?
MCL. He tore his MCL.
He's fine.
He played in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. James Cook, the argument's pretty easy. He's not going to score 17 touchdowns next year. And frankly, if the touchdowns aren't really that big of a problem, but he lost a bunch of his receiving work, like not his rookie year, but in 2023 when his first year as the lead back, he didn't score any touchdowns, but he was still an RB1 because he had so much receiving work. And I love James Cook, the player. I watched all the Bills games last year because he was on my team. He is very good at football, but the Bills are adamant that they're running a committee. Ray Davis is a very good football player as well. I was annoyed with how much work he got, but he kept earning it. He was fantastic when he played. And Ty Johnson continues to get work, except for the 1 week I needed him to beat Cevan because James Cook was a late scratch. He decided to do nothing that week. But regardless, those are, 3 or 4 targets a week that are coming out of James Cook's paycheck. So especially given the fact that, Cook's holding out right now, I don't think there's any chance he misses any games for the Bills. But at least from a dynasty perspective, the chance of him leaving the Bills is very real after this year when his rookie contract expires, which I know we're not talking about specifically with this section, but yeah, he's not going to score 17 touchdowns again. So if he doesn't get any of the receiving work back, you could be looking at someone who, more of a mid-range RB2 than the mid to back end RB1 that he was last year.
Yeah, it's like Reed just read off my notes. Haha. He read everything I was gonna say. But I will say he is no longer holding out. He reported to mandatory
Oh,
minicamp. He
there we
just
go.
skipped he just skipped OTAs, uh
I'm back in
but
on
yeah.
him then.
No, yeah.
You want him? He's
I will not take him back. No.
okay.
He's definitely not scoring 17 touchdowns and uh yeah, say he scores 7 instead, he's gonna need to get that receiving work to be at least equal to what he did a couple years ago. So yeah, he's definitely overrated. Yeah, let's just talk. I really don't want to talk about Xavier Leggett, so I'm not going to.
You've talked about him
That's
enough. That's
that's
fine.
Um,
crazy.
That's fine. He's talked
there's
about him enough.
there is nothing to say about Xavier Leggett. I've already made my case. He first round wide receiver
This is just
got
hating
repl
just to hate.
he
Yeah,
got
like
repl
based
he
on
got
his season
let me
last year,
talk.
how
Let
is
me
he
talk.
overrated? How
Let
is
me
he
talk.
overrated?
Let me talk. First round receiver last year, immediately gets replaced the year after. They bring in 3 receivers that are going to make the team. Um, and he's the one time they needed him last season, literally the one time, would have beat the Super Bowl champions. Ball in the basket, just just dropped it, and you can't have that. Um, yeah, he's not good at football. Watch a Panthers game. I know they're not on TV much, but watch a Panthers game. He's literally not good. I don't know what else to say. I guess we're gonna have to wait till the season starts, but he's just not good at football.
Xavier Leggett watch party week 1.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm down.
yeah,
I'm
It's going to
down.
turn into a Chuba Hubbard watch party, so I'm in.
exactly. It's gonna be a Jimmy Horn watch party. All right, screw Leggett. Ooh, droppable. Ooh, I like this one, Camden. Ooh, tell me about Tyler Higbee and why should you drop him?
Oh, there's not a whole lot to tell you. I mean, he sucks. He's like 102 years old. Ferguson, I was really high on Ferguson this year, in the draft. I think did Reed end up getting him? Maybe.
Nope, I did.
Oh, you did? Yeah. So I really do like Ferguson. Um, and I think he'll probably end up starting by week 5. Higbee, if he plays, if he's good, he'll demand targets. Well, not demand, but he'll get targets from Stafford. And we've already kind of touched on Stafford and his ability to, move the ball around. But I, yeah, Higbee was kind of, I think it might have been my last pick in that reclamation draft. So it was kind of like oh, I know who Tyler Higbee is. He played well last year when he came back. I think he was injured maybe for the first part of the year, but yeah, he's old. Don't like him. So he might get dropped before this podcast is over. So go pick
I
him
love
up.
love to hear it. I've got Trey Tucker. Reed has Will Levis, very interesting, and Tyler also in agreement. Wow, Tyler, you're really just piggybacking off Camden today.
It is. It's kind of
Um,
crazy.
2 weeks in a row
you,
now.
you have
Well, he was
anything
more
else?
than piggybacking off of Ian. I'll tell you that right now.
Tyler, you have anything to add on Tyler?
Uh, yeah, I'm Tyler Higbee. I mean, tight end's a strength for Camden. Talked about Brenton Strange and Laporta. Also has Zach Ertz there, so it's just a little bit of a redundancy for me. And Higbee's the weak link of the group, so he's cut candidate there, but still someone who could be rostered in general. So I think, I don't know, maybe not, but that's what I have.
Nice. And Reed, this is a spicy one, Reed. Why should competition quarterback Will Levis, second round draft capital, probably should have went ahead of AR. Why should he be cut?
I this is gonna sound funny because I'm carrying Joe Milton, but carrying backup quarterbacks for the most part is not super productive. Like they obviously just invested in Cam Ward with the number one pick. Will Levis clearly proved he's not the guy last year, in the last 2 years, outside of his debut game. Like I just don't see what the point of rostering him is at this point because again, even if he does play, you're looking at best at the absolute ceiling of like a back end QB2. So like again, you're going to carry a guy, a backup quarterback who's not going to play unless the starter gets hurt on your bench over someone else who may have a more realistic shot to playing time, or somebody might be on your taxi squad might have a more viable chance. So I think this is spicy, but I think logic behind it makes sense. Like I just don't really know what the value of rostering Will Levis is unless you are the Cam Ward owner and you wanted to ensure that you had the Titans starting quarterback, I guess. So yeah, I just don't see the value of rostering Will Levis at this point. It just feels like he's clogging a spot for someone else.
Very, very good points there. Maybe swayed me to want to drop Will Levis if he was on my team. For me,
Not dropping him.
that's fair.
Trying to
For
trade
me,
it to me for Joe Milton, who's a way better. Come on, man.
One actually might see the field. The other one is stuck behind Dak Prescott. So
very fair. For me, I have Trey Tucker. Um, you do kind of have a lot of droppable players, so I just picked one.
That's
Trey
the fun
Tucker,
of the reclamation draft because James's roster was James's roster.
yeah.
I don't think I have too many. I mean,
I mean, having more than one is probably too many.
fair.
Um, yeah, so he's going into year three. He's tiny. He's 5'9", 180 pounds. Uh, his highest finish in the last 2 years is a wide receiver six. That's not good. I know he had 80 targets last year from bad quarterback play, so there is the world where just getting Geno helps, but then again, he's going to be at best, the fifth receiving option. Sorry, fourth. Let's see. Bowers, Besh, Jacoby, Genty. Yeah, so at best the fifth option, in my opinion. And I can't tell you how many times the fifth target leader on a team ever was fantasy relevant, but that's my take. Is I feel like do we agree on Trey Tucker or no? Did I make any points?
I don't agree. I think Trey Tucker's still rosterable. He was fine last year.
I don't think he was fine. Played
Saying he's
17
at
games.
best the fifth target is
Who who
questionable.
who who would he out target?
Genty and or Besh.
Yeah.
Really?
I
I'm
think, I
not
mean,
saying he
obviously
will.
having Geno this year also helps him out a little bit.
Well, according
Which
to
But
Ian, they're going to throw the ball like 6 times a game this year. So,
well,
but yeah, again, I'm not saying he's going to out. His most likely outcome is the fifth target in the offense, but There's a real option where he's a gadget player with that can do stuff for them and ends up with the third or fourth most targets and has spike weeks. But I mean, I agree. He's definitely a bottom of the roster guy for a dynasty roster. But he, he belongs in the category. I think you were just a little harsh on him. That's all.
I don't think I was harsh. I think I was proper. I mean, he doesn't present much touchdown upside with his stature and lack of red zone usage. They have three. I know height isn't everything, but they now have three 6 foot plus. Well, they have Besh, who's 6'2". They have uh Brock Bowers, who's 6'5". So the red zone, I don't think the red zone targets are going to be there. And we just made this case about um, Zay Flowers for him being small and not having touchdown upside, and then just the targets ahead of him. I don't see a world where you can put Trey Tucker in your lineup ever.
Say
And
Flowers not having touchdown upside had nothing to do with his height, at least to me.
well, they are literally the exact same measurables.
Yeah, but that didn't have anything to do with why I was down on Zay
That's
Flowers.
that's fair, but it still has something to do with the red zone targets at least, because Zay Flowers has. I actually heard this stat today. He has 8 red zone targets in the first 2 years. Um, which this isn't a Zay take, but I heard that today, so I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I'll bet anybody right now that Genty has more targets than Trey Tucker and Besh. No? Okay.
No.
Then drop him. All right, let's get into the overall roster. For quarterbacks, we got Bryce Young, we got Tua Tagovailoa, Cam Miller, who I think is a receiver, uh, Sam Darnold, and Will Levis. Uh, yeah, Camden, what's your overall thoughts on your quarterback room?
I think it's a decent room. I don't think it's 12th best quarterback room in the league. I think they kind of screwed up there, but a decent amount of upside if people can stay healthy. I think, you know, from any of those top three quarterbacks, any three of them can start. Or I can see any three of them, finishing towards the bottom end of a QB1. Maybe, Bryce Young might be top five in MVP voting this year. You never know. So, um, not the best, but not the worst for sure.
I'm just gonna dispute your you said you have like you have did you say it's high upside or a decent amount of upside?
It's if people can say healthy, I think, Tua could be a top 12 quarterback. Darnold could be a top 12 quarterback. Bryce Young could be a top 12 quarterback, but
I could be
not a
a
whole lot.
top 12 quarterback if you think about it.
You
That's fair.
totally could not. Totally
Did
could
you see
not.
me in lightweight in seventh grade? Cevan, back me up here. Top 12 quarterback.
Weren't you the heaviest
Hey,
lightweight? Was that what it
No,
was?
that wasn't me. Cevan
Oh,
scored most of
okay.
our touchdowns.
Well, that
yeah,
makes sense.
we don't need to rehash something that happened like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I'm just going to dispute the high upside part that you said. I think we
Okay.
know what Tua and Sam are at this point, and they neither of them provide any rushing upside. Um, and I don't know that without Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold's going to throw for 4,000 plus and 35. Tua, we know what he is. Can he stay healthy? We'll see. He's a yards guy, touchdowns. The touchdown threshold, I don't think is going to be there. Then Bryce Young is the wild card. He does provide. He showed he has a little bit of rushing upside, which helps because he's young. He scored a lot of touchdowns last year, so um, we'll see. I don't think it's a high upside, but I think he's got probably a low floor as well. So not a good room in my opinion, but
I I
I don't
think
think
with
it's
this
the
room,
absolute worst. Yeah, go on,
I
Tyler.
agree. This is not the worst at all. I think what this room has going for it, in any quarterback room that has three starting quarterbacks, is you can play matchups to a degree. I think all three of these quarterbacks are within a similar range. So if you have one of these quarterbacks going up against Philadelphia or Denver, probably a sit there and you could start the other two. So I think you could definitely play matchups with these quarterbacks, which is obviously a strength where if you just have two of these guys, you're in a much worse position. So I agree that this is not the worst quarterback room, and I think it's perfectly fine.
Real
I've
quick,
pulled it
real
up.
quick, real quick, Reed. Let me comment on
Go
that.
ahead.
So when you say, Tyler, that like these three quarterbacks are a group of quarterbacks you can play the matchups, I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it not a good room because usually the quarterbacks that you just play the matchups are your like your QB threes, your QB three types. Um, that's all. Sorry.
But I mean, even QB3s have their boom weeks, and I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1 of week matchups to equals automatic top 12 finish week. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that gives them flexibility.
that's true. Yeah, but I think it's just where like obviously everybody would prefer to have matchup proof players, but when you have a room of players that the two you're going to pick have the best matchup regardless of who they are, I think that's not a recipe for success. Even though that one week I did call Joe Flacco being a guaranteed top 12 and he was, that's when you play the matchups.
I
Go
pulled
on,
it up
Reed.
here. So to pull the group here, Cam does have the 12th ranked quarterback room via Keep Trade Cut. The 11th quarterback room, which they're rated very closely, is Schrader, and he has Brock Purdy, Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, and Spencer Rattler. So of the group here, which quarterback room would you rather have between Schrader's and Cam Thorn's here?
I would
I'd,
take Schrader's.
no, I'd take
You would
this
take
one.
Schrader's?
Yeah, off Brock Purdy alone, honestly.
Okay.
I would take this one pretty easily.
I think it's easy this room.
I'm torn. But and again, I don't know how Keep Trade Cuts formulas work as far as how they like weight the positions in depth because like Spencer Rattler still has value on KTC even though he's, in the same tier as Will, well, probably even a tier below Will Levis, like basically pointless. So personally, it's tough. I see both sides because obviously Purdy has been a top 10 quarterback. And, at his worst last year, he was still better than, any of the three of the guys here were last year. I guess not Darnold. So I think overall, I would rather have the three quarterbacks that I know I can start than be forced to start Purdy plus either Russell Wilson or an unknown rookie. Because, at this point, it looks like if the unknown rookie is playing, it's because Russell Wilson was very poor to start the year. So then again, you're taking weeks of Russell Wilson being poor and then an unknown rookie. So I think I'd probably take Cam's quarterback room as well, just because, like you said, there is some matchup element. You have depth. You have enough depth to where A, you can absorb an injury, or B, bye weeks, you're always going to be starting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, unless they have two of them happen to have the same bye week, you're always going to be starting two quarterbacks. So I think I'd probably take Cam Thorne's room, but not by a ton. So my personal rankings is he is the 11th best quarterback room in the league. So that's
I don't
pretty
hate
big
Jackson
upgrade.
Dart, by the way. I actually do think Jackson Dart will be good. I know he plays for the Giants, so it hurts a little bit. They think you're going to be, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady off the start, but I do think Jackson Dart's going to be good. So,
Who do you think's
Yeah,
but
going to
we
be
don't
better,
know.
him or JJ McCarthy?
Uh, Neither.
Fair answer.
JJ's gonna be good, just trust. But no, as far as that question, my perspective, I just think Schrader has a higher upside. Brock obviously has his 250 whatever million extension. So uh and he's been a QB1. He's matchup proof. He's efficient. Um Yards and touchdowns are going to be there. Great offense. And then with the unknown of the Giants quarterbacks, that just provides an unknown ceiling, and everybody is interested in what they don't know. So that's just why I would take that side. But yeah,
Do you not think
it's
that Bryce Young has an unknown ceiling?
I
I mean,
think
I think he still does. I
I
really do.
think we're closer to knowing what he is than Jackson Dart. So
With Leggett being his wide receiver one last year, right? You were
it,
dogging Leggett, but that was who he
I,
had.
I'm
Him
not a
and
tech.
Thielen.
I'm not a tech guy, so that doesn't move me much. But
Fair.
either way, we're comparing the bottom of the barrel, so it doesn't matter. Anybody else have anything on Cam's quarterbacks?
No.
Cool. Well, I got a question for you. What is more likely for Camden to have three quarterbacks finishing QB 13 or worse, so just outside of the top 12, or one quarterback finishing inside the top 12? Camden, we'll start with you.
Definitely one finishing top 12. I mean, it's my team, so I
Yeah.
totally think, at least one of them, I've been kind of saying it, but one of them will have a good year.
Who do you think, who would you bet on it being?
If I had to put money on it, it would probably be Tua.
Okay, very interesting. Probably not where I would go, but
I think if Tua
Just
stays healthy, I know he's hurt all the time, but I mean, when he's there, he is a top 12 quarterback,
for
fantasy wise.
reference here, quarterbacks 11 through 15 last year in points per game go Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Mahomes, Kyler, and then Tua. So that's not a low bar to cross to get to that top 12.
yeah. Reed, what do you think?
That being said, I would also take one quarterback to finish top 12. I honestly, Darnold did it last year, Tua did it the year before, and Bryce probably has the highest ceiling of them right now. Or sorry, has the most unknown in his game right now. I don't necessarily think the Dolphins offense will bounce back, but as I said, Tua was QB 15 last year in points per game. Darnold was 12. So two of those guys were either did it or close to doing it last year. So I think there's a pretty good chance one of them, at least one of them, ends up being a back end QB1 here. So uh,
Who would you bet on it being?
none. I think they all. Honestly, it's a cop out, but I'd give them all about a 1/3 chance of doing it. Like I could see a path for all of them. I could see a path for none of them. I don't really necessarily think there's a favorite there. I'd like to see Bryce Young do it. I think he'd be the most fun if he's the one who did it.
Okay. Tyler?
I'll say one in the top 12, and I'll say Bryce Young.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be the only one picking it, so I will also say one in Bryce Young.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was
Good
the point of
question,
this
though.
question then? If
No,
we all,
it was close. It was
I
close
agree.
for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So there we go. All right, let's get into the running backs. Okay, this is a very intriguing room. It's a pretty shitty room if you ask me. Um, James Cook, we got Javonte Williams, we got Braylon Allen, newly signed Audric Estime killer, J.K. Dobbins. This is
Rip.
where I need Mr. Krabs' mini violin. The upside of Kendry Miller, nothing in Ollie Gordon, R.J. Harvey, Sean Tucker, and Woody Marks. Um, I'll start here. I'm just going to get ahead of it. I don't think J.K. Dobbins affects R.J. Harvey. I think it was never going to be R.J. Harvey being a workhorse. I think Dobbins kills whoever was going to spell R.J. Harvey, and I thought it was going to be Estime. So, if anything, I think everybody's overreacting about Harvey. I think he's going to be exactly what he was going to be. He was always going to be in a committee. Um, but yeah, as far as James Cook, I think he's a perfectly fine uh mid to high end RB2 at his floor probably just based on volume and the offense he's in. We touched on Javonte, kind of he's just a good value looking into 2025 just being the lowest running back that still is able to carve out a role in a wide open backfield. Braylon Allen, probably a handcuff. Kendre, upside. I'm not in on Ollie Gordon. That's Jalen Wright's backfield handcuff to lose. Sean Tucker, probably nothing. He always has one or two relevant games a year, though. Then Woody Marks just got killed by Nick Chubb. So I was just kidding. It's not a shitty room. It's okay.
No, it's
Um,
okay, Cevan. It's
no,
okay.
it's okay.
I
It's
would
just
love to
okay
be
though.
here for when it's your team. And I don't think I remember your team going yet, but I would love to be here to just shit on your quarterback room after trading,
That
Mahomes
that
for
that was fun. I
Mahomes
enjoyed
for
that.
nothing. So I did
Yeah,
you guys
yeah, I
already
don't
do
know.
it? I'm trying to
Yeah, we did.
think.
We did. I think
Okay.
mine was second like a month
Yeah, the
ago,
second
but
team breakdown episode. If
yeah,
you
Was it
want, go
before
back
or
and listen
after
to
the
it
was it
yeah, yeah.
before or after Mahomes trade?
after.
It
After
was after. That's right. I do remember.
we did a whole episode on that trade. It was like 20 minutes.
Do
But
you guys do you guys
that's not
remember what
about
was
you.
born that episode? The milkman was born that episode.
That's
Milk,
right. Oh
Milk
man.
Monkas. All right, let's get back into your running backs, Camden. Let's skip you. We'll go to you last. Read overview on Cam's running backs.
Obviously, I spoke on James Cook already. I still think he's a solid player, or sorry, a very good player with a solid floor. I just don't know what kind of ceiling there is there to show what he did last year. So, but regardless, a solid starter right there. I don't think there's any doubt that people feel RJ Harvey will be a startable fantasy asset from week one, regardless of Dobbins, and then high value handcuff and Braylon Allen, potentially high value handcuff and Kendra Miller, and then everybody else is just kind of meh. Like Dobbins is going to need an injury, I think, to become a weekly starter. He's just going to be a can he get into the end zone, and nobody likes starting someone like that. So, I think between Harvey, Javante, and James Cook, you've got three guys that okay, you've got two guys that you feel comfortable starting, and then Javante potentially could feel comfortable starting. I think Javante's the player is just toast. He's purely a situational guy, and we've seen the situation be successful last year with Rico Dowdle. So overall, it has KeepTradeCut has him as the eighth best room in the league. I think I'd probably put him right in that area. I like the floor that he has. I just don't know how much ceiling there is.
Very fair. Tyler, what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on his running back room?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think it could get really annoying if there's a Dobbins Harvey decision to come every week. If you kind of have to get inside the mind of Sean Payton. So hopefully that's not the case for you, Camden, but I could really see that just being a nuisance to try and deal with. Um, I think I agree with what Reed said there. High floor is the best way I'd describe this. And maybe there'll be some upside s- some weeks.
Yeah, as far as the Javante Harvey thing, not Javante, sorry, the Dobbins Harvey thing, just take whoever's catching passes, and Deshaun, it will not be J.K. Dobbins. So, Camden, talk
Deshaun
about
just
your running
catching
back room.
random strays in another team's breakdown.
Well, he just got done arguing with me that J.K. Dobbins catches passes, and he caught 27 passes his first 3 years in the league, not counting his injured year. So if you want to count it as four, we can do that too. But J.K. Dobbins doesn't catch passes. That's it. Camden?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with everything you guys have said. When I saw that Dobbins notification on my phone, I wasn't the happiest. I think obviously Harvey would have been better without Dobbins, but you know, James Cook, he's gonna be a low tight end or sorry, low running back one, high running back two this year. Um, I don't see a world where he drops, lower than that or, finishes top eight. So a decent amount of players that, we still don't really know. I'm pretty high on Braylon Allen, so we'll see about him. But yeah, I mean, shitting on, Ollie Gordon and Woody Marks. I mean, I drafted them in the fourth round. They're just kind of, that was what I thought. I need running backs, so um, getting those guys at the very end were just kind of shots in the dark. So
That's fair. I liked Woody Marks though until they signed Chubb.
yeah, which Chubb's only a 1 year. I don't think Woody Marks would have done anything this year to begin with, but I guess I didn't know he was that old already. So
His
he's
name is Jaquavius.
Jaquavius. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes me feel better about him. Maybe he'll carve out a role.
Cam, do you feel any worse about your RJ Harvey trade than you did when you made it? Because
They,
that was the reverse fleecing. After you fleeced me for
yeah, no,
Rashid,
fair, fair. And
I
I knew
think
you were
we're on
gonna
an
bring it up.
even,
I
yeah,
knew
an
there was
even
gonna be a
amount here.
time you started bringing up, you fleeced me. I was hoping you wouldn't, but yeah, it hurts a little bit. I mean, I know Dobbins signed a 1 year, like $5 million deal, so they obviously are gonna use him this year. Um, it definitely hurts right off the bat. I was hoping Harvey would, be that sure RB1 on the Broncos to start, but I think he's going to probably split carries for a while or probably the whole year. So it hurts a little bit. We'll see in a couple years what Harvey's doing, but yeah, slightly, not, yeah, I
Always
don't know.
get your guys and never feel
Yeah,
bad about getting your guys. That's why
yes,
when I got fleeced, I didn't care because I believe in the guy. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, especially now that Luther Burden missed all of offseason stuff with soft tissue. So it's not like I'm making out like a bandit either. So
Yes.
fair,
I
fair, but you definitely got the better. I mean, yeah,
correct.
again,
The value of
like Ian
trading up.
said last episode with Mbuka, like he wanted him, he went and got him. So um, I wanted Harvey, I went and got him. So
It definitely is a major up to your room because if you didn't have RJ Harvey here, this room would be just god awful. So it's a good thing
yeah,
you
for
got him.
sure, for sure. Laporta, guys, you got a running back you want to get rid of. Laporta is there. Just FYI.
All right, let's move on. We got a question.
That's my bad, I guess.
What
Maybe.
was
I
the
don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
do you remember what the question was?
I'll pull it up. I don't remember this
Well, yeah,
being an issue.
while you're pulling it up, again, I'm just going to reiterate. Don't think I think RJ Harvey's role, the J.K. Dobbins signing is never going to affect RJ Harvey's role. I personally believe it was never going to be him being a workhorse, and they just needed to find his counterpart because RJ Harvey is not built to be a workhorse. Uh, he's built to split time. And so no matter who it was going to be, I think he was always going to split with someone. And like I said, I thought it was going to be Estime. We'll see. It still could be. J.K. Dobbins barely got any money nowadays. It's like, yeah, 5.25 million. So he's not even a lock to make the roster. And as we all know, you can't predict injuries, even though he's had an injury every single season of his career. So,
Cevan, this was just what you had typed in there, so I don't think there was a running back question.
right, no worries. We'll just get right into the receivers. So, uh, this could be a quite a controversial room. Controversial room. Uh, we got Amon Ra leading the way with Puka, DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, Tank Dell, Trey Tucker, and Xavier Legette. So without talking about uh the guys at the bottom, Tyler, what are your thoughts on these top five guys?
The only two, I'm not really going to talk about Tank Dell either. I mean, let's just get him on the field first
Yeah.
after his rough injuries. We haven't talked about DK or Debo yet. Unfortunate timing because there's kind of a video clip. I don't know if you guys have seen it that
He's fat
ca-
again.
came out today on the day we're recording of
Again or
Debo.
still?
Both.
Uh, I don't know, but Debo running route seemingly in slow motion, but it's not. It's real time and um it's a rough look for Debo. So
I heard he was playing running back this year, so maybe that's why.
so we'll see if I'm pretty out on Debo. I've never been a Debo Samuel fan myself. Uh, but I'll follow that up and say I really like DK Metcalf. And I've never been big on DK Metcalf either. However, I do love the situation he's in this year, and I'm in on him for this year. I think he has the chance here to be a number one that he hasn't, fully been able to be in Seattle with JSN and Tyler Lockett there over the years. So I really like Metcalf with Rodgers there. I don't see who's really going to be stealing targets from him. And as we've seen, he can post great touchdown numbers. He's had 10 receiving touchdowns in a season, 12 receiving touchdowns in a season. So I think on an offense that's going to look hopefully a bit more exciting than it has the past in the Steelers. I think DK Metcalf will be at the center of it, and I'm really excited for him. I think he can absolutely ball out. So love love that he's your third receiver here behind St. Brown and Nakua. I think that's really good. So
Yeah, obviously DK got traded to the Steelers and then signed a $150 million contract. Um, love DK. He's a great player. It's I don't love the situation specifically because he is the only pass catcher there. So I mean defenses can just shade to him.
I will no Roman Wilson slander in here.
Rodgers is 41 years old and they do not have a proven wide receiver too. It was kind of confusing why they traded Pickens because I think the offense would be so much better with DK and Pickens. But yeah, not having, I mean, anybody to play wide receiver outside of DK is concerning to me. But uh, I think
I heard Lazard
he,
was brought up. Or no, actually, yeah, Lazard was brought up in trade rumors, which he doesn't really help, but
which I think that was more of a joke.
no, I don't actually think so.
But then touching on Debo, I agree with Tyler. Out on Debo now. I was in at one point, but them trading for him, I get they needed the Commanders were desperate for help at receiver as they didn't have much behind him. Famously, Noah Brown caught a Hail Mary against the Bears. That one hurt. And then they had Olamide Zaccheaus or Olamide Zaccheaus, whatever his name is. So they just needed somebody to get in there. I guess he's an upgrade, but he's old and expensive. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, talking about guys in your flex, they're fine flex guys. And then Tank Dell, he's on IR for the year. He was promising his first year, but injuries to a very undersized man never help. And then Leggett bordered with or played with putting him in droppable, so we'll just leave it
come
there.
on.
That's insane.
Reed,
I knew that was I knew he was
That's
gonna say
insane.
that. Yeah, I don't have anything new. Frankly, I'm kind of a TK hater. I don't think his style really gels much with Rodgers, but again, who else is going to catch passes? So at the very least, there's going to be volume. I've just never been a fan of his game as a whole. So kind of out on him. I'll touch more on Debo later, but yeah, the dude's washed. Not a fan. Uh, and then everyone else is either really good or really bad. So yeah, kind of a straightforward room for me other than those two.
where does Leggett fall on the really good or really bad?
I'm not as far on the scale as you are, but I'm a lot closer to you guys are than he might be usable in the future. So,
All right. Camden, how's your receiver core?
Yeah, touching on, DK, I think that everything the Steelers did this offseason actually helps him. Signing that big contract, trading away Pickens, and then signing Rodgers. DK's been getting double teamed his whole career. I think you guys probably know I've always been high on DK. I think I've probably drafted him in three out of the five, I think, Linmar drafts that I've been in. I've kind of always been a DK fan. Tank Dell obviously hurt all season, and it kind of hurts that they, drafted two wide receivers in the first three rounds, to be kind of alongside Nico Collins. So don't hate Debo as much as you guys do. I know end of the year last year, it was kind of like a nobody wanted him in San Francisco, but I think he could carve out a role with Jane Daniels. I've always been high on Jane Daniels. I don't think we're going to see a sophomore slump. There's definitely targets there for him or, the ability to get on the field. So Leggett, I like Leggett. Honestly, I really do. obviously I don't think he's startable this year, but if Bryce Young finishes top 12, like you guys kind of all said, is what would happen if I had a top 12 quarterback. Leggett is going to be a guy that is going to have 700 yards, I think, 800 yards. So, yeah, that's kind of all I got to say. Amon-Ra, Puka, I mean, they're good. So, nothing to say about them.
All right, let's get into the question. Are Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown the best wide receiver duo in fine dining? If not, who is? Tyler, I'm going to start with you here.
Gosh.
I have a good hunch who he's gonna say. Don't worry, guys.
Oh, me too.
I will say, can you come back to me?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Reed, are you
This
going to
is
take
tough.
Reed, are you going to take Chase in London here yourself?
I will, but I was just going to say that I feel like you have a legit argument for at least four of these. And I'm the one who typed the slide, and I think at least four of these has a real argument for, sorry, maybe not a real, like, it's hard to argue, like, let's just say Neighbors and T. Higgins over these two, but in a normal, like, just generally, like, that's an elite top two to have. And I think there's having all these top twos shows just how, like, well divided the talent is across our league in the parity.
Yeah, I think it would be a more fun exercise to do who are the best wide receiver 3 and 4 is per team. That would be fun. But Reed, you're going to take yourself, Chase in London, obviously. Camden, who
No,
are you
no,
going
no,
to
no.
take
I'm
your?
not taking myself because it's myself. I'm taking myself because it's the best combo, obviously.
I don't know about London, but I'd
Well,
probably say, I don't know. I think there's a lot of wide receiver ones that are better than both of my wide receivers, but I think that my two wide receivers kind of fit in the middle of every single one of these groups. I don't think that two wide receivers on this list are better than, Puka Nacua or Amon-Ra. I would probably, if I had to say, I might say JJ and Lad, honestly. I know Lad maybe I think JJ, Vikings fan. JJ's the sure number one on this list. Yeah, Crimea River, Jamar Chase, but JJ is the best wide receiver on this list. And I think that means a lot too. I mean, Lad will put up 14, 15 points a game. So I think I'm somewhere in the middle, maybe towards the top. I think I'd take myself over at least four of these guys. But no, I'd probably go with Rob's team.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective from you, Camden. Um, I would take Jamar in London. It's close. Uh, to me, it's either Reed's or yours, Camden. I don't think personally the other five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think the other five compete with those two.
I mean, I don't know why
Um,
Tyler's on this list unless he made it, but Tyler probably should be on this list.
no, I made it, and okay. Well, part of it was because I just wanted there to be an even number on there, so I
Sorry,
wanted
Tyler.
there to be six,
Yeah.
and then I got to four, and I'm like, okay, Tyler close enough that I'll put him on there. And then I had five, and I'm like, okay, I have to add Deshaun. I didn't even know who to put it as his second one with Lamb. So
Yeah, but
I'm the one with the slide. But either way, like I said, you feel comfortable with like any of these seven, because six down there plus Cam being your like top two guys.
I don't feel comfortable with Lamb, but or not Lamb, sorry, Olave. The
That's
last.
fair.
But everyone
I'll,
else.
I got my answer.
Yeah, what is it?
I'll s- I'll
Say
say
it.
it's our guess. I'll say it is Puka
ooh,
and Amon
lazy
Ra.
glaze.
Not
Wow.
guys.
When I
I
so wait, real quick story, Camden. When I came up with this idea like a week ago, as soon as I said Puka and Amon Ra are could arguably be the best in the league, Tyler immediately said stop.
I
As
I
in
think they could. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah
But he said stop as in like that's a
yeah
terrible take.
it's a okay take. I
It's a
actually
great
like the
take.
take. It is a great take. This is a good one. I could honestly choose, I think, from three of these players, me
The,
included.
the thing is, like there's a there's a reaction and one I don't agree with now. So I changed my takes. Don't worry.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
All
I
right.
respect
I
it.
London. I'm sorry. He's just. We don't need to get into it with Drake London right now, but he's getting glazed way too much on this podcast.
A 23-year-old top five receiver last year is getting glazed too much.
Yes.
And then gets
Okay.
a quarterback upgrade.
Okay.
It
Here,
is an upgrade.
I don't know.
let
I don't
let
I don't even agree with that, honestly. I don't agree
let
How
with that.
is it is an upgrade? It's a clear upgrade.
we're no we're not arguing Drake London here, but let me throw this out here, and you guys tell me how on track I am. If I'm going to rank these seven cores here, this is how I would rank it. I think probably aggregated would be probably what everyone else would agree with. Chase and London number one, Puka and Amonra number two, Nico and Brian Thomas number three, Justin Jefferson and Ladd number four, Neighbors and T Higgins five, Devontae and Terry six, CeeDee Lamb and Olave seven.
I
I think I'd take Lamb over Tyler, but
Okay, so
that's
five and six maybe anti-glaze. But other
sorry,
than
my
that,
bad, Tyler. I
did
actually apologize.
are
I kind of
are those
went at you here,
rankings? Does
but
everyone feel comfortable with the general
yes,
range of where those are?
I agreed with your first
I don't hate that.
iteration.
I don't hate
Roughly.
that.
Okay, there we go. I've solved the wide receiver crisis,
Well,
which
I
according
would.
to Tyler, I have a metric fuck ton of them. Because if we are going by wide receiver three and four, I'd win that one hands down. Not self-glaze, but
That's a self glaze,
big time.
That
but
totally is.
you definitely would. Although I could compete, but we'll just move on.
I don't know about
All
that
right,
one.
I mean,
let's get
DK, man.
let's get into tight ends. Okay, so we got a hefty room here of non-top 12 tight ends. We got
Okay.
Sam Laporta at the top. We got Tyler Warren, newly acquired via pick 14 in the 2025 NFL Draft. Brenton Strange, Tyler Higbee, and Zachary Ertz, who is holding somebody back, but we'll probably I'll let Tyler talk about Zach Ertz. Tyler, actually, why don't you start us off with Zach Ertz talk?
Don't have Zach Ertz talk. I he's borderline droppable. Probably not. Sorry.
What?
He was a
I
top 10
just
tight end last year, man. It's on the
okay.
screen.
Okay. I'm saying in Camden's room, but yes, he probably shouldn't be dropped. I've talked about three of the five on the screen here, so I don't have much to add. You guys touched on Warren a bit, so I mean, Ertz, you might have one more good year out of him, and that's great. So I know he's top 10 last year. I'm not talking about the tight end behind him. I refuse to say his name.
Where have why are you not on this journey with me, Tyler?
I don't know.
Do
Someone
we need to
else
trade?
talk about Cam's tight ends.
Wait, Tyler, do we need to trade Trey Benson for Benson it right now?
No, we're not doing this. Talk about the tight ends, damn it.
Reed, do you like this tight end room? Or do you
Uh,
love it?
I'd say I like it a lot. I don't know if I'd say I love it. Very
Okay.
deep room. We've talked about everybody except Ertz, who, while not droppable, I mean, we say it every year at this point. I'd be surprised if he's playable next year, but damn it, he's playable like every year now. So I think this is definitely the deepest tight end room in the league. He may not have the same upside that someone like McBride or Bowers presents, but definitely two, at least one for sure solid option. Two young players that I think a lot of us like. Tyler Higbee may or may not be droppable. Maybe early season you might get some work, and then Zach Ertz is steady and reliable if unexciting. So yeah, definitely the deepest tight end room in the league. So I'd say I like it a lot, but I'm not in love with it.
Good. Yeah, just some quick thoughts from me here. Um, I think Sam Laporte is great. Uh, Zach Ertz, maybe you can flip if he starts out hot before the inevitable takeover begins around week 8 or 9. Uh, Same with Tyler Higbee, another takeover incoming. Brent Strange, I'm out on. And then Warren, I think he's going to be, it's going to take him some time to establish himself as like a bona fide cornerstone tight end in Dynasty. But he's a great prospect to have on your team, especially if you're trying to move Laporta. And if you don't think you're going to be able to compete with the big dogs this year, then just betting on Tyler Warren to uh, develop, wait till they get another quarterback, and then capitalize and upgrade one of your other uh running back or receiver, whatever, with Laporta. That I don't know why I'm getting into trades for your team, but that's just where my brain led me. So solid room all the way around though.
Camden, can you change your team name to the very creative My Balls Zach Ertz?
Well, it's not too, yeah, I don't know. I'll think about that, Tyler.
I think he should change his name to Team Cam Thorn.
No, just yeah,
Yo, what's
just
up with Cevan? Just can we? Nah, let's not get into that.
It's like
But
just
I've been
take the
playing
team out of
fantasy.
it.
I've been playing fantasy with Cevan for like 7 years now, and I don't know if anything bothers him more than someone having team in front of their name like sleeper defaults to. That's the only reason I don't have it in my name is because we made a bet on our matchup in this league last year, and I would take team out of my name forever if I lost, and he had to put it back into his team name if he lost, and he ended up winning with that late scratch from James Cook. So that would have been
yes.
hilarious.
I think I've gotten more texts from Cevan saying take team out of your name in a couple leagues than anything else. So he is a team hater, I guess.
Yeah, if I could edit your team name, then it would have been done a long time ago. But yeah, what about you, Cam? Talk about your tight end room real quick.
I don't have much to say about it. We kind of um talked about every single one of these guys except for Ertz. I know there's no, I don't know. Ertz is there. I could see him still finishing top 12. Um, but yeah, I'm big on Warren. I think he could maybe even start at quarterback this year with shitty quarterback play. So we'll see. I'm hoping he's kind of that Penn State type of guy this year because I kind of loved watching Penn State, unfortunately, last year because he would do it all. So um, we'll see. Not the biggest Laporta fan, but I am a big fan of Strange too. I think he could definitely you could see him at the top of the tight ends this year. So
Perfect. Well, I got a fun question for the tight end question. Over under 6.5 games for Camden. Does he start two, at least two tight ends, one being in his tight end slot, one being in his flex spot over the season?
Over.
Over.
I I like this question a lot. I think it's a very
I
fun
do like
question.
this too.
And I'm going to take the over because the rest of his bench blows. So I don't think he's going to have a lot more options to
Oh, Reed.
to start here. As we talked about, a pretty thin running back room, and then receivers. Uh, he's got guys. He's got three solid guys, and then after that, just a lot of question marks. So I'm going to take the over, and I don't think anybody seriously utilized a two tight end setup. I think some people probably did here or there, but nobody did it consistently last year. So in a tight end premium league, I'd be ecstatic to see somebody go after that.
Yeah, it'd be a very new and interesting
I
strategy.
I did last year with Laporta and McBride for a bit.
You're right. That's true.
Wait,
Sorry.
hello?
In the trade you lost with
We got
James.
Cevan.
Sorry, yeah. My bad. But no, I think it'd be a very interesting strategy, but I don't know how optimal that would be, especially with Camden sounding like he's gonna try or at least wants to move on from Laporta. That just takes away probably, I mean, his best tight end asset. So we'll see. I'll take the over though.
Yeah, so I agree with Savan for sure. Barring any, trades I make at tight end, I totally think the over. I would definitely take the over here. So
Well, good. I thought this was a pretty fun question. So over. All right, let's get into the hot takes of the episode, starting up with Camden. Cam's hot take. one player finishes in the top 5 at each position. Now, this is spicy considering how shitty your quarterbacks and running backs are. But
That's a tough scene.
I love to hear
It's
it,
okay.
Cam.
It's a hot take, right? I mean,
Yeah.
No,
I
I was
agree.
thinking, two wide receivers in the top five, but that's not really a hot take. That's going to happen. So, um, obviously my wide receivers and my tight ends, that's the easiest route, position wise, is having a tight end finish top five and a wide receiver. Um, I know I've kind of been not really shitting on James Cook, but not the highest on him, but who knows? He could maybe finish top five if he, puts together a miraculous, season. And then hi, I'm Bryce Young. What if I'm Bryce Young? I could, you know, top five's kind of crazy, but I could totally see him banging out a, you know, seventh finish this year. So that's what I got.
What do you guys think is the least likely position out of all of Camden's position group to have someone
quarterback.
accomplish this feat? Okay, yes. I was
I
going to say quarterback as well.
was gonna say running back.
I think it's running back more than quarterback.
James Cook was like RB8 last year, guys. Come on, let's be real
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
You
but he doesn't
said
want to be there. He doesn't want to be there.
you
So
said 17 touchdowns wasn't happening again. If
But
17
it
Yeah,
but
touchdowns
it
was running
but
back
it did
eight.
but it did happen.
it did
So it could.
happen. Yes. Oh my God, Cevan, I'm so proud of you, man.
No, we're on the same
Okay.
page.
Okay.
It's just Bryce has to have like an anomaly rushing touchdown season and throw for like 4,500 yards and have like 35 passing touchdowns.
To
And
be, go ahead.
that's just not going to happen.
To
It's
be a
not.
to be a top five quarterback, that means he has to finish in front of at least one of
I
Lamar,
understand.
Allen, Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe
sophomore slump.
Milton. I mean, like these are the guys that were top five in points per game
Michael
last
Joe
year.
Penix.
Milton? What are we gonna go past that? What
Joe
the
Milton was
hell?
QB6 in points per game last year because he started in one
Oh,
game. That
yeah,
was
I
just a
like that.
joke, but I'm saying there are five truly elite, at least five truly elite fantasy quarterbacks. So for anyone, not just Bryce, but anyone in your room to finish that high would be like one of the most
Be
shocking
crazy.
things in
Would
the
be would
entire
be
year.
hot. Would be a hot take for
Hot
sure.
take agreed.
It-
I'm standing by running backs.
Fair enough. Um, I have kind of been gassing up my hot take. So if it's all right with you, gentlemen, I would like to do mine last.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
How did you move your slide, or are you just going to
Mm,
skip past it really fast?
Just do that. All right, Reed's hot take. Oh, this is why you wanted to talk about Debo later, yesterday. Debo Samuel is on the waiver wire by year's end. Oh, this sounds like Debo's getting dropped. Help me about it, Mr. Reed.
I thought this was fun. It was only partially related, sorry, minimally related to the video that came out today. This was just a fun one that happens to connect to the video. I watched a lot of 49ers games last year because I had Juwan Jennings, and every time they threw the ball to Debo, I was like, why is it on the wrong slide?
Oh,
God's
There.
fun.
Every time they threw the ball to Debo, it was just like a waste of a target. Like he's not the player that he was, and the even when he was the player that he was, so much of his value came from that year he ran really pure and had like 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns. Like he's been his name, he is like the definition of a name value player at this point. Like what it's funny because they just happen to both be relevant right now. But when I think of players who the name value carries more than the actual production, I think of Debo and I think of DK Metcalf. DK because he's just an absolute physical specimen, and Debo because he had that 1 year and has either been hurt or bad since then. So I I actually think that Debo Samuel will be on the waiver wire by year's end? No. But do I see a world where he is just completely washed, gets completely phased out of their offense, and then he ends up on the waiver wire? There's a world where that happens, and I think that would be a really fun world because this would then be an awesome
Who?
take. I mean, it wouldn't be
Yes.
fun for you because
Yeah.
then, either way, I think it's fun if someone like Curtis Samuel, who just signed a big contract with the Bills last year, can be on the waiver wire. I definitely think that someone like Debo Samuel could also end up on the waiver wire if things go haywire this year.
I think he's more likely to end up on Ian's team than the waiver wire. Ian is a known, well, probably not to you guys, but Debo Samuel is like Ian's favorite player, like of all time. So
Oh, Ian, hey,
yeah.
he's available, buddy.
So
I know you're I
that
know you're listening.
if he's ever at that point where you want to drop him, just message Ian and he'll give you something,
Oh,
even if
sweet.
it's fab.
Appreciate that.
So Tyler, do you like this fat Debo take?
Yeah, I do. I agree it's not fun for Camden, but I do like to take.
I like the take. It's a good level of spice.
Hmm.
All
Yeah, I
right,
like it too.
let's get into Tyler's hot take. Tyler, DK
Wow.
Metcalf will be the number 2 scoring wide receiver on Cam's team, which means either Amon-Ra or Puka are hurt, or DK is just that dude. Tyler, tell us about it.
I'm glad to be seeing my slide here for the second time in the last 10 minutes. No, like I said earlier, I really do like DK Metcalf this year. I Rodgers looked decent the second half of last year, and I still think he's capable of feeding an alpha lots of targets, lots of receptions, and I think Metcalf will be relied on quite heavily, but I don't think that's a problem for him. I think he is built to be able to handle lots of targets his way and lots of looks. So I think he will do quite well. And yeah, like you said, maybe that means injury to Nakua or St. Brown, and that's not necessarily what I meant, but certainly baked into this. I think, maybe it's possible one of them has a little bit of a down year, but Metcalf pops off too. So maybe Metcalf is somewhere around, I don't know, 10 to 15, and maybe Nakua is like 15 to 20 or something like that. So I think this is meant to be a positive take. This isn't about Nakua or St. Brown. This is more so I really like DK and his outlook on the year. So yeah, number 2 scoring wide receiver on Cam's team this year.
Awesome. I have one follow-up question regarding DK for you, Tyler.
Hmm.
Do you think DK is going to be able to like mesh with robbers and stay on the red line?
What's the red line?
Did anybody get that?
Did Cevan just drop a vocab or a phrase that nobody else got?
I didn't get it.
I do not
Oh,
understand what you're saying
okay.
here.
Well, let me just briefly I thought you guys would get this, but so obviously Rodgers plays for Pittsburgh now. DK also plays on Pittsburgh. Last year, Rodgers was on the Jets, and they brought in Mike Williams after the after a game um, when Mike Williams didn't stay on the red line. Uh, in a press conference, Aaron Rodgers publicly criticized Mike Williams for he said he told him to stay down the red line, and that's where he was throwing the pass. And Mike Williams didn't run up the red line. He ran down the hash. And that's why Rodgers threw a pick. Basically, I'm just saying Rodgers publicly said Mike Williams didn't do his job and he was thrown to a spot. So it
He's
was a
not
joke.
usually one for accountability, so
Yeah. Well, it was a joke. It was supposed to say, is Rodgers gonna be a team player? It was a joke, Tyler.
They'll be
No.
fine. The personality stuff is kind of overblown for both of them, in my opinion.
whoa, that's a hot take.
But no, the red line, sorry.
Gosh.
The red line's the top of the numbers. Um, for all you non-ball
Can you
knowers
explain
out
what a
there.
9 route is again?
Camden, take it away.
The fly.
Yeah, that counts. All right. Any reactions to DK Metcalf? I know Reed probably doesn't agree with this, but
Correct. I have nothing else to say. Just not a fan of DK. I'd be very hard pressed to
okay.
see him uh, passing up one of the two big dogs at least.
Okay, Reed, for you and Camden, we'll go to you first, Reed. If this were to happen, which it won't, but if it were, and all 3 of these receivers play all 17 games, which receiver is DK more likely to pass?
If they play all given they all stay healthy,
Yes.
Amon Ra.
I agree.
Say Nakua.
Really?
I
I'll
agree.
say Puka as well.
Well, this is funny
Well,
because Cam and I had Puka as our MVP, and you guys both had Amon-Ra. I just think that Puka's in a better situation. Like you guys talked about Devontae taking targets away from Puka, but as I said, and as everybody knows, Stafford and the Rams are great at funneling targets to their main players. Whereas you think about the Lions, they have three guys trying to catch passes and two running backs that need work and an elite offensive line to make that happen. So I feel like if again, Puka's I has been injured more in the past than Amon-Ra. So just in general, I'd probably take Puka to score less. But given that everybody plays the whole year, I take Amon-Ra.
I don't know. I think Goff will have more yards and touchdowns than Stafford. So, I mean, that just presents more opportunity for Amon-Ra. So plus, I would take Devontae over JMO. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree with
Cevan,
that.
can we
yeah.
hear your hot take? I'm kind of dying to hear it.
Okay. Are you guys ready for it?
Um,
Are you ready?
yep.
Camden, I think you are going to love this.
Oh, okay.
I want no
Probably not.
reactions until I get through. I'm going on my spiel. Hot take. From reclamation draft to the finals, Camden Thorn wins the league as the newcomer.
Talk about a glazer. Wow.
I like that. Hey, Cevan, I really
Let me
like
get through.
that.
Let me get through. Let me
Sorry,
get
my
through.
bad.
What else is there to say? You've already came.
Here we go. I'm getting in my Jake Ferguson bag right now.
No, can we please avoid a monologue here? I really don't
Cam
want to hear
Thorn.
another monologue.
I'm okay with this actually. Go ahead, Cevan.
Camden Thorn, right? I'm just gonna say it. He was in our thoughts when we were creating the league. Was he one of the top 12? Unfortunately, he wasn't.
What the
What
hell?
the
Let
just
me go.
dissing me?
I,
What are we doing here?
all right, I gotta restart.
You picked James over me. Like, what are we doing?
No,
Let
that
me
was all
let me get
Savan.
through it.
So that was
Let me
all
get
Savan.
through it. Cam Thorne, when we were starting this league, was he in our top 12 of consideration? He was. Did he end up being in the top 12? He wasn't. Because we knew if anybody ever left, we'd have someone to take their place. We were confident in his ability to manage, be proactive, and reclamate the reclamation. Unfortunately, after our inaugural season, we had two players leave, RIP Shams, RIP James. But immediately, co-commissioner Reed and myself, Mr. Munkas, acted quick. We got on it. We said, do we know any Camdens? We knew two, one each. We got those Camdens together. We said, you guys can draft a team. Take your time. No worries. They banged it out in an hour. What did Camden do? Drafted a shitty ass team after the reclamation draft. He forgoed quarterback after the first round. Don't think forgoed is a word. Um, CJ Stroud was there for the taking. And what did he do? He said, no, I want to go down with the receivers. Bad idea, Camden. He had a shitty team. But what did he do? He turned it around. He climbed the ladder all the way to number 4 on my power rankings while he's sitting down at 7, 8, or even 9 for Reed and Tyler. I'm trying to talk some sense into these boys. These boys are sleeping. This whole time I've said your running back room, your quarterback room, Xavier Legette is shitty, although Xavier Legette is shitty. I don't mean what I say all the time, Camden. I see the vision. Everybody knows the best team never wins. I didn't have the best team last year, but Camden, guess what I did? I won. I have the ring. Pickles and I share that thing. We sleep with that thing.
Can we
And you know
please
what,
wrap
Camden?
this up?
And you know what, Camden? I see that vision for you. I see a path. I see a way Javante is shimmying through them holes on 4th and 1. I see the route. I see it. So
Something's
Camden,
moving in my pants, I think. I don't know.
so Camden, start customizing that ring right now. I will
Mm.
send you the link. I'm
Mm.
talking Gonna be week 17. Ian versus the underdog. We're gonna get the purge music going. Camden's gonna wake up like it's Christmas morning. All right? I'm talking about Christmas morning. And you know what? Josh Allen and Lamar, they're gonna combine for 90, but you're not gonna flinch because you're gonna have Bryce Young and Sam Darnold. In your dominant wide receiver core, you're gonna have Puka Nacua, Amon Ra. You're gonna have Sam Laporta and Brenton Strange in the lineup. Xavier Legette's gonna be your second flex, all right? And what are you gonna do? You're gonna go put up 181. He's gonna put up 180. You're gonna send me the information. I'm gonna get you that ring, all right? Now, Camden, I want you to say it with me. Cam's the champ. Cam's the
Cam's
champ.
the champ. Cam's the...
And that is my hot take.
Wow. Thank you, Cevan.
That was from the soul.
But I mean, you kind of just told me that I'm pretty much sloppy seconds to get into the league. So I mean, that wasn't the best, but you kind of turn it around there towards the end. So I appreciate that, Cevan.
Like I said, I was speaking from the heart. Tyler Reed.
I got nothing.
That was the longest 3 minutes of my fucking life. Good Lord, man. I've never been less excited for a hot take now.
Zip it up when you're done, Cevan.
No shit.
Talk about Mr. Slurp coming from Mr. Slurp too, so that's some high praise right there.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets in the playoffs, anything can happen. So we'll see.
That's fair.
Damn, Tyler's been like low-key dissing me the whole time.
I
He really
haven't
has.
been.
It's crazy.
Bruh.
He has a type, and it's one
He
of
does. Yeah.
one. So
3-letter.
all right, let's get into these season predictions. So, as you can see, my opinion reflects my odds. I've got playoff odds at 59% for Camden with the championship odds of 21%. Reed and Tyler are very more aligned. We'll just call them 44.5% and 12% for a championship. So, yeah, I think
to be a top 2 team, not to win the championship.
yes, a top 2 seed or a 1/6, depending on your knowledge of ball. So, yeah, Camden, any thoughts on what you're looking at right now?
This kind of aligns with what I think. I think I'll, kind of a 50-50 chance I make the playoffs. And then like Tyler said, when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. When Bryce Young's throwing for 400 plus yards, three games in a row, and climbs up that MVP ladder, yeah, I think it could happen for sure.
It's very true. Don't think that's going to happen, but it is true. Yeah, so Tyler and Reed pretty aligned. It reflects their power rankings of him. It also reflects mine. I've got him a few spots higher, so I'm the high man on Camden. I seems like I like his team more than he does, which I don't know if that's a good thing for him, but it probably is a good thing.
I went back and checked my power rankings. I actually had him about middle of the pack for playoff aspiration tier. I think I had him at number 8 overall. I just struggle to see the upside outside of his 2 big dogs at receiver. So for me, I think his team has solid enough depth that I think it gives him a good shot at making the playoffs. And as we mentioned a couple of times, his ability to rebound off of a very poor reclamation draft, I think we can all kind of agree, probably not his finest performance, but he's done a very good job getting back into the fold of contention since then. So I'm excited to see year 1 if he can shock the world here.
Trades are going to happen for sure. Trades are going to happen. Not with Reed, though. I'm done with Reed for the year.
I still
got
want
my one in.
I still want Laporta.
Well, not for your bummy Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith, you mean tight end 4 last year, bub?
Okay. All right.
Are there any thoughts on these odds?
No, not really.
Fair enough.
Well said.
All right. Well, this was a great episode. I'm glad we got to bring Cam on and talk a little bit of ball. Nice to catch up with some old friends. I'm sorry you were sloppy seconds, but it is what it is at this point.
Sometimes leftovers are the best food.
Ooh, that is a bar.
Yeah, but not very many times.
Okay, but think about it. You make a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. You eat half of it with your dinner, and then you eat the second half left over. Macaroni and cheese is better
That's
left
fair.
over the next day. I'm not saying you're macaroni and cheese. You're like a burger that you probably don't want to eat the next day, but leftovers sometimes it'll eat the next day.
A burger that I don't want to eat the next day. Okay.
I
All
mean,
right, I'll
you
remember
can't
that.
really eat a burger leftover. I mean, that just doesn't really work. You know
I
what,
I
Cam?
am
You're pizza. Pizza is an elite leftover.
I don't like cold pizza, so I
Well,
don't
you put
know,
it in the
but
microwave or the air fryer and you're good.
microwave.
I'm a
Microwave
stove
redraw.
reheater for
You
pizza.
reheat pizza on the stove.
Yes, it is way better. It crisps that bottom so it's not so floppy. But I will say I'm on the other end of the mac and cheese side. Mac and cheese warmed up like le as leftovers is my least favorite,
Really?
maybe my least favorite food
Do you
ever.
generally like macaroni fresh then?
Yes.
You're saying
Love
just
mac.
leftover, you can't do it.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
can't put it in the fridge and once it's cold reheat it. Oh my God. I
I did
throw
not
up.
think that was a hot take.
No, that's disgusting.
Interesting.
It probably goes onions and then cold mac and cheese warmed up. My least two favorite foods. But yeah, that should do it. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this season for sure. So
Awesome. Reed, Tyler.
Thanks for coming on,
Nada.
Cam.
Yeah, it's a good time.
thanks,
Perfect.
guys.
All right. Well, as always, I got something to say to close this one out. So
Oh
uh
no.
no, yeah, just short and sweet. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 12 of Likely to Dispute. This has been Mr. Monkas. Join with me again, Reed, Camden, Mr. Slurp, aka Tyler. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.